No time for introductions today. Bitcoin perhaps is even on the stairway to heaven, and we have plenty to talk about. So with that said, we'd like to wish you the best, and the happiest on this Friday. Is it already Friday? Doesn't matter that it's Friday. Friday means fucking nothing. Hey, time is an arbitrary concept. We made it up. It's not real. Well, it kind of is real, but more importantly, it means nothing for you, Mr. Cryptocurrency Trader, or Mrs. Cryptocurrency Trader, or Z's, hers, and whatever the hell after that one. I don't even know anymore. But no offense is intended, of course, here. What I'm trying to say is that it's weekend and Bitcoin trades 24/7. So there is no rest for the wicked, and there's actually plenty to discuss actually that might be even happening over this current weekend here. So with that said, in a more serious tone, wishing you the best for right now. And in the meantime, let's go take a look at the Krown application, which we found at app.krownchain.net. And what do we see? Oh, we see so many things right now, don't we? See Bitcoin dominance popping back up a bit above 61.5%. I do believe that we saw it come back down below 61% region yesterday. So as Bitcoin does essentially kind of stair step its way up to the, I would say that we're in the heavens already, because I mean, Bitcoin went from fucking 10,000 to basically 50,000 without any major pullbacks, except for at that $40,000 level, to be fair. But with that said, we do see that the dominance obviously rise, and as Bitcoin does essentially break out of the range and continue on with that motion above the $40,000 breakout level. On top of that, we do see that the fear and greed index is stuck at a 92, because it should be, because you should be extremely greedy when Bitcoin has had these massive moves. On top of that, we do see that the open interest actually coming up significantly from yesterday to today as well. So another $500 million added onto that essentially, and now we're eyeing about 8 billion. 8 billion with a fucking B. I should repeat that. This should be like top news for the next, I don't know, for like the next week, man. This thing is going so fast. Like it's actually actually a bit overwhelming, to be honest with you. Anyways, so it's like a good time to kind of just slow down, soak in the old Bitcoin, just massive mega rally, and enjoy a nice morning. Anyways, let's see. I do want to check out the global market cap. Okay, so we are above, we're nearing in on about 1.5 trillion. That is, I think Bitcoin itself just hit a trillion last night. So we're hitting some pretty massive milestones. Again, I do want to bring up the relevancy of that, mostly because, you know, always in the long term, I am thinking in the sense that Bitcoin and gold typically do get kind of related to each other, and gold has a market cap of about 8, maybe even 10 trillion now, as it did have that nice move above $2,000 a few months ago. Anyways, more importantly with that, we do see that Bitcoin kind of crawling its way up now around that 1 trillion marker. You know, it really kind of gives you some insight into potentially what the, well, what it could look like at the end of the day. Maybe not at the end of this day, by the way, but, you know, further on down the road, of course, because Bitcoin typically does get, well, compared to gold for good reason. I mean, they're stores of value, so at least that's what the general narrative is. I know that some people out there want it to be like a peer-to-peer payment type thing. Some people say that it's not that at all. Some people say that it's whatever the fuck. Some people say that's goddamn rat poison, but... But the point that I'm trying to make is that, you know, for the majority of people, they do kind of look at that them as stores of value. And Bitcoin, or sorry, gold, which is, I mean, not even really used all that much, to be fair, still having a market cap of, you know, around, you know, somewhere between 8 and 10 trillion, I believe it is, then you have to really wonder what Bitcoin is capable of. And if we do want to play the moon boy narrative today, which we're going to be talking about all sorts of moon boy shit today, that gets the views. Well, I mean, you know, it's kind of mooning, I guess, I suppose, when it's right around $50,000. But I do want to always come back and recall to that, so that's why I bring it up right now. Anyways, over to the market data tab we go, and of course, I do want to show off the, well, our major feature right here. The open interest rising alongside price action. Open interest obviously making new all-time highs alongside price action making new all-time highs. That is very, very good. Still playing into the narrative that this rally, that this massive move is supported with positions. So I would be looking for this to continue onwards and forwards alongside the volume signature, which we'll come into in just a second. On top of that, we do see that the funny rate has come, actually no, spiked up. Sorry, I thought it had come down, but my eyes deceived me in the early morning hours here. And yes, indeed, it's actually popped up quite a fair bit. We do see that Binance, Bybit, and FTX all well above 0.1%. Even FTX and Bybit nearing the 0.2% region. and several others kind of right around the threshold as well. So I do think that this is a bit concerning right here, and I do think that this does line up with still, you know, likely another move to the upside in the short-term timeframes. However, this is a bit concerning, and I would be looking for short-term, medium-term reversals, probably based off the next major pivot. So I do want to keep that in mind, or have some sort of an area that would denote that something's actually gone wrong in the short and medium-term timeframes. So we'll be going over that now. I just want to check out if there's anything else here that I want to make sure that I get into. I mean, the open interest chart is just that's fucking crazy. That is actually crazy. Anything else? It is rather interesting to see that the perpetual versus spot trading is starting to really exaggerate the difference right there. I do think that that is also rather interesting, but I don't have a theory for that just yet. Other than that, globally funding rate, it's actually technically above 0.1% region as well. So, you know what, let's go into the price action charts. I'm going to take a sippy sip of this water because I'm goddamn thirsty right now, and it is way earlier than when I usually do these videos. I think I started this one at like 6 or 6:30. Anyways, one Uno Momentum, my friends, and we'll be back in just 1 second. Oh, there we go. Wow, water just brings everything back to life. Okay, so starting off with our secondary charts right here. We did get the critical closure yesterday on the 2-day above the top side Toronto band. I'm curious what that 3-day did as well. Yep, it did it as well. So I am generally bullish, still looking for continuation off these levels. Now, with that in mind, and matching up with the open interest, or sorry, not the open interest, but the interest rate that we looked at earlier, I do believe that this next move likely does put a bit of a put a bit of a damper on Bitcoin, meaning that yes, Bitcoin probably is going to be bullish here, or at least reach a little bit higher towards our $50,000 plus targets. But after that, I would be looking for very, 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 very likely at the very least a short-term time frame pullback, perhaps even over the weekend, or maybe even medium-term time frame pullback on top of that. But we'll discuss the criteria for that soon enough. Anyways, more importantly with this, yes, 2-day closing above the top side. Once again, already testing to the already backfilling and testing the top side once again at just below $47,000. And so far, so good. I believe the daily was right there. Actually, no, the daily did close above as well. Now kind of getting rejected from the top side Toronto band. So could it be argued that we've already kind of hit that next move? Could be, but I think that would be a little bit too abrupt, as we will go through in the lower term timeframes. So for right now, as we bring up our momentum oscillators, we do see that the ADX DMI is once again lifting off, but the DMI plus still not getting that positive slope like I really want to see. Now, at the end of the day, there's nothing bearish about a read like this, to be fair, but I really would like to see that specific read in order to kind of get that next move into the $50,000 region. Daily MACD again non-increasing right now. Histogram is decreasing, but will continue to rise above 44,432. By the way, you can get this indicator for free on TradingView. Just type in, I think a lot of people have been emailing about this one. Just type in caretaker MACD, and it'll be the reverse function for that. Should be relatively straightforward. Anyways, with that in mind, I would be looking for that condition to be met, plus close above the top side Toronto band once again. So momentum plus volatility plus trend in this case to, well, target that next move into the $51,000 region. Of course, we do still have our measure move from this, what would be some sort of a fucked up variation of a cup and handle right here, pointed up towards the 2-spot extension. So I do like the confluence at 51,500, that is, and that's essentially where I'm looking for on this move. Now, if you do take a little bit more of a conservative measure move on this one, because this one right here is a little bit more of an aggressive one, you would actually be getting around our current high right now. That would be just right at, like literally right at about $50,000. So we can see that Bitcoin got up to $49,000 last night. Pretty damn close, $100 in the grand scheme of things, especially when we're talking about, you know, $20,000 ranges, is not going to register all that much. So you could make the argument. I don't think that it's going to hold when we go into the lower term timeframes, but I do want to throw that out there right now, and then we'll overlay conditions for that. Other than that, I do want to check out what the 2-day oscillators are looking like, and again, 2-day MACD still increasing on the histogram. I do like that, and of course, 2-day DMI ADX doing the same thing as the daily. Essentially, I really want to see the DMI plus get a positive slope here. We haven't got that just yet, but again, I mean, there's nothing bearish about this specific read right here, like in any way, shape, or form. So I'm kind of nitpicking right now, but that is what you expect to see probably within these next 2 days here. Otherwise, it could be signaling that something, you know, something has gone a little bit awry here. Looking at the 3-day, same thing essentially. I mean, basically the same fucking chart. It's really not that much different than the 2-day, to be fair. We do see MACD histogram continue to increase. that is good. And we do see, again, closing above the top side trailing band. And of course, we do see that the DMI ADX having that nice bullish signature. But I really just want to see that nice, just a little bit of a curvature to the upside on the DMI plus while it is dominant. And that would look very good for taking that next leg up. Now, of course, as I have been saying, this $51,000 level, I wouldn't be really willing to call like any major highs at that region, while it is kind of a measure move, and while it is a Fibonacci target, which is going to equate to algos and whatnot, just blindly kind of selling off on that region. Very rarely do I see actual reversals upon this region. Now, what I typically do see is like short-term and medium-term reversals off this region get reaccumulated a little bit lower, perhaps even where we're at right now, and then typically they march on to the 618, and sometimes in even more aggressive markets, I'd expect a wick towards a 3 spot here, and that'd create a range between about $58,000 and $62,000. I know that I've been kind of beating this horse to death for a while now, but you know, that, I mean, we have just seen these things generally you know, play out over time, but we're looking at, you know, daily, 2-day, 3-day here, and to be fair, weekly as well, which is actually gonna have a chance to do the exact same thing here too. And these things obviously take time to actually just, well, fill themselves out. But I should denote that because we do have CME closing later today at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we should be looking at CME's weekly chart, because that is going to be set in stone sooner than spot, and very likely lead spot, and it's going to have a chance to do the exact same thing as long as it closes above 45,266, which it is currently a healthy more than $2,000, about $500 above right now. So looking pretty damn good. And of course, these sorts of signatures are also, well, quite nice right here, to be fair. I'm curious what the 3-day and 2-day look like on this one. Did we even close one last night? No. So this is on a bit of a different schedule here. Being that it is CME and trades on a normal, well, somewhat normal future schedule. So with that in mind, you know, still looking good to be fair, but not having that same relevancy until Tuesday for closure. What about 2-day right here? Did we close this one last night? Nope. This one will be closing on Tuesday as well, actually. So then the daily is the next one that we have. That's going to be closing the soonest. And that was going to have a chance to do the same thing as well. And the daily does look pretty damn good here as well. Looking at all momentum oscillators, it actually looks incredibly similar to what we see on spot. So not much to begin off that. I'll just say that the next biggest thing to be aware of the soonest is going to be the weekly right here. As long as Bitcoin is trending above the top side trailing band, especially on CME chart as well, I'm just generally bullish, looking further north on the higher and macro timeframes. If we go down to lower term timeframes over here, it would be a good time to now go over the ranges and how that can actually change around the biases here, of which I would be having the bottom side support moving up from yesterday's video from about 43,100, as my dyslexia gets in the way of my English words, all the way up to basically where Bitcoin put in another higher low last night, or sorry, I guess yesterday around midday for myself, 44,100 right here. As long as that range holds, I don't look at anything here out of the ordinary. I just look at this as a nice sideways consolidation, and you know, well, you know, admittedly you know, quite a wide range, but not that wide when we're talking about, you know, the whole, well, not that wide when we're talking about like the whole number to begin with. We're talking about a number that's 47,000 at this point. So yes, a range of about $3,000, $4,000 is completely fine. And keep that in mind. Now, if this area does break, that's where short-term, medium-term biases start to get changed around a little bit. Short-term, for sure, would be targeting move back down to about $41,000. Medium-term can bring us down a little bit more, back down to our Elon Moon Sky or pump high right here, right around $38,000, $37,000. Now, with that in mind, of course, level by level is the way that I do things. Doesn't mean that's going to be the only way to do things. Doesn't mean that's going to be the only right way to do things. But that is how I like kind of approaching these sort of unique situations when you have like pretty much a generationally, well, I guess not generationally because we had multiple of these in the last 10 years, but when we've seen, you know, these incredibly biblical rallies, yeah, I'll pull a word like that out, these biblical rallies, you know, within the context of this. Hold on, where exactly was I going through that? Yes, okay, comparing a biblical rally with like a short-term, medium-term pullback. Yes, that's what I don't want to be getting caught up in. So that's where this changes down here for the short term, 44,100. 2 to 4 hour closure below there, problems, and I'd be extending that move down another $3,000, down to about 41 to maybe even $40,000 even. Very likely a bouncing pod here, and then if this area does break, that's when the medium term starts to really change around as well, and we can target moves back down, you know, to $37,000 and perhaps even beyond. Do I think that that's what's happening here? No. Do I think that Bitcoin can play in this range for a little bit longer and just put in some sort of reaccumulation formation? Yeah, absolutely, completely fine. Looking at the volume signature right now, we can see that it is supported, yes, but at the end of the day, I would be looking for this to kind of come back down into a bit of a pitter patter before this next sort of just stair-stepping motion. With that in mind, let's see what the momentum oscillators are suggesting right now, and we do see hidden bullish divergence playing out from yesterday's call. That I would say, you know, well, I'd say that that's pretty much played out at this point. I mean, Bitcoin did get up to about 49,200, it looks like. So that was a, holy shit, that was a $5,000 move off the lows. Not bad, not bad. There you go, Bitcoin. Not bad, not bad at all. On top of that, we do see that momentum also started to turn back up as well, as that condition was met yesterday. Will remain to the upside as long as Bitcoin's above 46,800, by the way. And this is coming off of declining or contracting historical volatility percentile, which is rather interesting to me as well, as that would suggest that this is going to operate a little bit more as a range before we do see further expansion. In this case, again, you know, I am bullishly biased, to be fair. Looking at the 3 hour, what do we see right here? Basically the same thing. 45,130 is the magical number. We do see the same sort of trend line, actually, or if you want to call it a regression. A lot of people have been calling this, or sorry, a lot of people have been looking at this as like some sort of a MACD histogram. It's not. It's just has a histogram on it. It's basically a stochastic with a histogram, in a little bit different settings, but it does seem to get these more long-term moves a little bit better than regular stochastics. But I'll probably be going back to those soon, anyways, just because we'll have a lot more training with them. 4 hour does have potential bearish divergence in play as well, but I would not put much on that. And if anything, you know, with these counter trend signals, I really it's not necessarily that like I like taking those signals. It's more so that I like to use them to manage my positions on the other side. So in this case, you know, assuming that you did buy off this support right here from yesterday's video, which is not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, but you know, if I was doing something like that, I'd be looking at that as an actionable exit signal in this case. Okay, so moving through the 3 hour, we see the same thing, everywhere else. Buy hourly already has that confirmed a bit, but I'd say that the easy part of that move's already played out down to 46,700. If it does have another leg, I'd be looking somewhere around here towards 45.7, and probably does line up with the 55 at some point as well. Looking at buy hourly, still remaining the upside as long as about 45,700. So they are all building on each other on the lower term timeframes, but it is looking like we could see maybe a small short-term pullback here. Again, coming back down like a little bit below 46,000 bucks is not problematic at all. My bias within this range right here does not change in any way, shape, or form. The general bias will be bullish as long as Bitcoin kind of trades sideways within this range right here. It's just more opportunities as far as I see it. But in the very short-term time frames, we are getting a little bit of bearish signals here, a little bit of bearish divergence calls here and there. So again, while I do think that those play out, I'm not looking for like a fucking hourly signal to undo this mega rally that Bitcoin's seen. So fair enough with that. Anyways, moving on into the medium-term timeframes, 12 hours still kind of trudging along. I'm actually curious what this looks like on my secondary charts, just to know for sure. Yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary here, to be fair. Yeah, all right. It's just still looking like continuation there, more than anything. 12-hour RSI, what are we looking like? Consulting within the bullish control zone. Good. Getting that move down to the exponential that we spoke about yesterday, and that is even coming off of new highs, which is very good. Very good as well. And momentum remains the upside as long as Bitcoin's above 45,300. So you are starting to see a lot of those numbers start to come into the middle of the $45,000 region. So I do kind of like that for a little bit of short-term basing if Bitcoin does want to play out a short-term pullback and reset a bit of those some of those oscillators. Moving on to the daily, more or less the same shit as yesterday. We do see that momentum remains the upside, like not in any main jeopardy as long as Bitcoin doesn't have about a $10,000 dump-ola, which, hey, we've all seen, I could say that we've all seen crazier things. Percentage-wise, we probably have. Not percentage-wise, just straight-up number-wise. Actually, I don't think so. I don't think we've seen a $10,000 dump day just yet. Maybe this one over here, 38 to 30, pretty close. Pretty close. Oh man, my nose is starting to itch. It's so cold here. It's so fucking cold here in Helsinki. It's like -20 to -25 is what it actually feels like. That when you go outside, your nose will start to bleed, or at least my nose will start to bleed, because I guess I'm not supposed to, probably not supposed to be on this weather over here, man. Probably supposed to be out in like some sort of sunny climate, I would guess. Anyways, with that said, moving on to the daily right here. I still like daily RSI read a lot. Still, consolidate within the bullish control zone is, well, generally going to be a good thing. On top of that, momentum remaining the upside. So all higher term time frames still bullish. Short-term time frames, do they play out a little bit of an ebb and flow here? Perhaps yes. Like I said, a move down just below 46,000 bucks is not in any way, shape, or form problematic. Below 44,100, that's where things do start to change a little bit. But until that happens, I'm just generally bullishly biased on, well, as a fucking moon boy right now, I guess. It feels wrong, man, and I feel bad for the people kind of joining in on this channel during these times, because they're gonna get like a warped perception of, well, one, of me, and then two, of what trading and an analysis is like. I mean, usually it's not so simple as just hitting the green button. I'll put it that way. Call back to 2017, right? Anyways, is there anything on the 2-day and 3-day I want to check out here? Sorry, whoops, wrong one. Let's check it on these charts right here. No, just continuation from yesterday. Still playing out that hidden bullish divergence, but I'd say that that's played on the 2-day. On the 3-day, usually you want to see a move into the edge of the bullish control zone. We've pretty much seen that right now. 3-day does look a little bit different though in this regard, as if Bitcoin does start to break the short-term and medium-term structure, it does start to show that, yeah, we do still have high-low structure, but that's all the way down to about $31,000. So it's got a lot of airtime right there. That's what makes managing risk on long-term trades in a region like this incredibly well, risky and dangerous. I mean, where are you gonna put your fucking stop loss, right? Stop loss $10,000 lower than my fucking entry. It's like, all right, technically speaking, works out as a trade, but I'm not so sure you want to take even just one loss on that. That's gonna hurt. Anyways, let's move on. I've already been talking about Bitcoin for 20 minutes. Let's move on to Mr. Buterin. See if there's anything to be gained by looking at this one. Or actually, you know what? I do want to go over what I spoke about yesterday as well, just briefly here. Go over this one once again with BLX index going all the way back to 2010. We have seen this signature, which I do think is important to kind of reflect upon. It's going to drive a lot of clickbait sort of titles and everything like that. Apologies for that. It's playing the YouTube game, although there's no real excuse for that, except it is pretty fucking funny, and it actually does work. Like, there's a reason why all these YouTubers are doing the fucking O face, and then having like these insane predictions that like it's almost like, how can you even count that high? Now I'm seeing 1 million Ethereum predictions. What the fuck? it's very unlikely to happen. But the funny thing is that it really does get the views. I've played around with that in the past. Usually as like an obvious joke, but it actually fucking works. It actually fucking works. That's the crazy thing. Although I would argue that the kind of person that tunes into a title or a video like that might not be the kind of person that you typically want to be around, but fair enough, can't blame them. Everyone's like that when they're younger, especially. Anyways, so looking at the long-term charts right here, what do we see? So we do see plenty of things, right? We do see that Bitcoin has a very specific signature when it closed on new all-time highs on the weekly. What do I mean by that? Well, anytime that Bitcoin on the weekly has closed on new all-time highs after a little bit of a short-term reversal, or in some cases a long-term reversal, we have seen just absolute melt-ups of fucking moves. Starting off with this one in 2010, where we close on new highs. Then from next high to, from that high to next high is about 450% move. I mean, pretty fucking nice. One after that, short-term reversal, then boom, another 200% up. Even that, which doesn't look like all that much when Bitcoin's like at $1, by the way, really, really fucking 200% move. I mean, that's more than what Bitcoin has right now, to put it in perspective. After that, we have this one in 2011, and that's about a 3,000% move from top to bottom, or bottom to top, I guess. Then close on new all-time highs over here, melts up for another 1,250%. Then a little bit of a 3-month reversal, and close on new all-time highs soon after that. Boom, another 600% to the upside. By the way, I would argue that this parabolic rally right here is a lot more similar to what Bitcoin's doing right now, actually, than say the 2017 rally. To be fair, but I need a bigger video to focus on that whole analysis, because that's going to take a lot more time. Anyway, same thing over here in 2016 to 2018, essentially 60% from last high to next high. And as you can see over here, Bitcoin, to put things in perspective, thus far from from closing on all-time highs on the weekly to where Bitcoin is at right now. It's been about 150% rally. Now, 150% rally is, again, that would be the lowest. That would literally be the lowest. And I'm sure someone's going to say, but Krown, what about this one right here? This is not really reversal. I mean, you don't really have, like, it's not going to work out. It's continuation more than anything else. You'd have to count this as like a reversal as well. I don't think that works out. So if we're comparing in that way, 150% versus even 200% on the lowest end, historically speaking, would be certainly an outlier. So would it be relevant to think that Bitcoin, could go 200%, and where would that be? Well, that would be right at $58,000. If I recall back to our charts over here, that is the next macro target, at least on my scale here. Technically speaking, 51,500 is a big one as well, but the big one that I am really eyeing is a 2618 right here. That is a big algo target, and that's right at fucking $58,000. So with that in mind, do I think that that's possible or likely? Well, I think it's both. Actually, I think it's both. Not only that, but just matching up with pattern targets as well. Not that I'm the biggest pattern trader of all time, but is rather interesting. Now, again, that's on the low end. On the high end, we saw even north of a 3,000% rally. I don't think that that's except for like clickbait bullshit titles. That's not relevant really for anything. But if I were to even add 3,000% onto this rally right here, I mean, I don't even think the numbers go up that high enough. Okay, they do actually. It goes up to about $600,000. Again, somewhere a little bit more measured off. Let's say it would be like a 1,000% rally. Or you know what? Let's because I will do this maybe over the weekend. I want to explain why I believe that Bitcoin's rally right now is a lot more similar to this section right here, thus far. Basically a 3-month-long rally on new highs, and that was about 1,400%. So I'm just curious, what 1,000 to 1,400% would look like as well. Let's do a little bit of moon boy nonsense right now, and just enjoy. Not that I necessarily believe this fully and full-heartedly, but it's fun to fuck around with. And 1,000% would put you at just north of $215,000, and I imagine that I don't know, what was it, 1,400%? Probably puts you at like 400,000. Nope. Almost $300,000 right there. Not bad at all. So I mean, of course, this is not happening today or tomorrow, but again, calling back to that earlier discussion of gold's market cap versus Bitcoin's market cap, which is, let's just say for ease of conversational purposes, is like 10 to 1, 10 trillion versus 1 trillion right now. Well, does that make sense? I mean, for comparing these, even if Bitcoin doesn't, fully succeed in its like world domination goals, and even gets just somewhere around gold's market cap, maybe in like a decade or two's time. Well, yeah. At that point, I suppose yes. That does start to make a little bit more sense just from like a more remedial standpoint. So with that in mind, I'm going to go back down over here. I want to go back into Mr. Buterol, actually. No, actually, we want to go to our more trending charts, seeing if this one's still moving onwards and forwards, which I believe that it is. 1750 ticks in the early morning hours. And what do we see right here coming into this next weekly closure? Yep, still trending above the topside trend band. 1690 is the magical number for that one. This again is looking pretty damn good here, to be fair. Daily, not doing the same thing, but as long as it rides in exponential moving average, I look at this as a very aggressive trend, and your sort of natural target is going to be somewhere around the topside trend band for medium-term trades. In that case, that would be right around $1,900. But realistically, I would be looking for Buterol to start to expand from this region. And realistically, I'm not really looking at anything around that level as too. It's too relevant. I mean, yes, we do see a couple of algo targets coming around there, especially the 414 and the 618 extensions here. But do I think that those would produce like an actual reversal within this region? Unlikely for a long term, maybe short term, medium term. Yes, as people take profits, but realistically, it's a little bit above like 21 to 2200-ish region that I'd be looking towards on this rally, actually, as this one just kind of stair steps and gives up its way. Of course, I should also recall back to this as well. very similar price action here when it breaks its prior all-time high on a weekly closing basis as to Bitcoin. You know, trades 1, 2, 3 girthy green dildos on the 4th week right here on a new all-time highs. Bitcoin very, very similar back in, I think it was November. You see Bitcoin closing on new all-time highs right here. Yep, November, boom, and then trades 1, 2, 3 sideways, and then massive girthy green dildos as it does get its continuation to the upside for more than a 2x at this point, going from basically 19,000 to just under 50,000 bucks. Pretty damn impressive. So, you know, could you expect something relatively similar over time on Ethereum? I don't think that things necessarily exactly work like that, but I do think that it's something to keep an eye on. And of course, at the end of the day, it's the same sort of, you know, long-term management areas here anyways, just below you or just around your prior all-time high, 1350-ish region on a weekly closure. You can maybe even move that up to 1400, basically same number anyways at this point. And as long as, you know, as long as it's kind of trading above there, I'm generally bullish, and I don't really see any reason to be bearish on fucking what is price discovery, you know, like literally just entering into price discovery right here. You know, I mean, you know, have to call a spade in this case, and I don't think that that's exactly what's happening right now. Anyways, back on a Bitcoin right here, it does look like the short-term timeframes do want to play it a little bit lower, but like I said, you know, short-term timeframes coming back down to even 45,500 or even 44,100 is completely fine. I just look at this as likely another higher low until this area breaks right here. That's where biases do change. That's the main message of today's video. We'll go take a quick look at Nasdaq and SPY futures. Looking at NAS right here, what do we see? Did we see a retest of the prior all-time high? Pretty much yes. I'd be looking for maybe a small pullback to start off today, and then a full-on retest of the prior all-time high. If this one wants to pull back first, though, 13,650 is where I'd be looking towards, but make no mistake about it, I'm not bearish on this at all. Coming into next week, any sort of a closure, well, a lot of people are going to call this a spinning top dildo right there, which technically speaking it would be. You know, let's wait for the closure first. Let's wait for the closure. It'll only just be a short day of trading before we have cleared out the situation. We'll come back tomorrow and analyze the weekly. But for now, just looking at the daily and looking at the lower term timeframes, looks very similar to Bitcoin actually, and Ethereum just kind of stair-stepping its way up into new all-time highs, and where momentum also is turning up right now. Yeah, looking even good in the short-term time frames. Hidden bullish divergence right now, while momentum also is turned back up here too. I'd say that it's even more likely that that it just kind of powers through and makes new all-time highs probably even from here. If it closes on new all-time highs to end today, by the way, that would be a very obvious signal for me to be bullish coming into next week for new all-time highs continuation. What about SPY futures? Basically same chart, but not as strong as Nasdaq. Does not have that same sort of hidden bullish divergence present over here. Although I would argue, or sorry, no, I cannot argue that because it's because it quite literally doesn't. Yeah, it does not exist right there. This one wants to take a leg down. I'd be looking towards 38.75 region and very likely a bounce right there. But ultimately, very similar to Nasdaq, I'd be looking at these as an opportunity. But Nasdaq very likely sets the tone. Nasdaq looks more obvious right now, and Nasdaq looks more bullish just in general. Anyways, moving on, let's actually see what the tech sector is doing right now. Tech sector seems to trade a little bit better with Bitcoin, and you can see that the tech sector looks a lot different than what we see on Nasdaq or SPY. It's a lot more strong, you know, or pretty much on its highs right now as it closed out yesterday on new all-time highs, to be fair. So the way that I look at this is that Bitcoin actually is more correlated with the tech sector for, well, obvious reasons, kind of treated as a tech rather than like financials, which is XLF. We do see it kind of move with this one a little bit more. And in this case, this one's breaking onto new all-time highs right here. Closed the day pretty fucking strong. So I'd be looking for further continuation here, and that very likely does make me bullish on Nasdaq in the more immediate future as well. Just looking at this, financials a little bit more weighted. A little bit more, yeah, short-term downside here. So which one's weighted more in Nasdaq? I believe it's the tech sector. I'd have to double check on that, but I believe if memory serves me correctly, it is a tech sector. And if it is a tech sector, then, well, that should overshadow, but still this one would have a little bit more short-term downside, to be fair. MicroStrategy back above $1,000, looking pretty damn good there, fucking dominant. But is it toppy? Is it toppy at that lovely round even number? Well, I would say that this would be a pretty big top signal right here. massive shooting star dildo as it stands, but we want to see this fully confirmed. So I would not judge this one just yet. I need to see it tomorrow after the weekly closure, or, you know, if you're gonna stay up all fucking night, or, well, for myself living in Finland, it's gonna be all fucking night for me, which I'm I'm not going to do, then I'd be looking for any sort of a closure here or lower. That would very likely be your next big toppy signal. Curious for this coming off of any major areas over here. Yeah, of course, this big bad breakdown. Yeah, coming in from March of the year 2000. I'll say that again, the year of 2000, actually completely retesting that region right there. Beautiful, fucking beautiful symmetry within this market. Anyways, maybe a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance, or actually instead of the Bitcoin dominance, just look at Ethereum Bitcoin. I think that one generally speaks towards the altcoin market, really. And what are we seeing right here? Yep, a bit of a reversal on the weekly. Daily looks like one's come down a little bit lower. I'm sure that people are calling this a head and shoulders. Can it work out as one with a double head? Actually, you do see that every once in a while, yes. Where your target be, likely somewhere back down about 3.3 million. But would I be saying that just yet? Well, 4 hour looks pretty abysmal here, to be fair. Yeah, short term likely does base a little bit lower. 3.5 million satoshis, that would be. But I would be looking for bounces around there. Yeah, anywhere around 3.4 to 3.5 million satoshis, I would be looking for big bounces on, and then we'll come back to it next week and give it a further beating. But for right now, that is a bit problematic. I'm curious what some of the other ones look like. Cardano, how about this one? Okay, there's nothing really bearish about that. So I always want to shit on Cardano, but I can't really shit on that one. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's been good ever since this area over here, to be fair. What about Link? Link kind of struggling as well. Oh yeah, Link really struggling here. I would prefer not to trade something like this if it looks like that. Not to say that it's not gonna, like it's destined to go up or down. It's just I'd rather be hands off, sir. Hands motherfucking off. What about DOT? Another one of the perennial winners. Well, at least for the last few months. Bullish short term. I'd be looking for a move back up to 57,500-ish region. Theta, same thing. Reaccumulation, higher lows. Be looking for this one to pop back up. Just under 7,000 satoshis probably. What about Litecoin? If that one's doing well, then you know that things have gone wrong. Nope, still looking like shit. Still looks like shit, actually. What about Ripple? What about Ripple me nipples? Oh, can't even buy a rally, man. Can't even buy a fucking rally with all of the promotions going on here. So fair enough. I think that is going to do it for that. Video is already 35 minutes too long. I need to actually get a new phone because I think I've abused my prior phone a little bit too much, and it's like starting to actually break down. So that'll be my whole thing today. But let's go back on over here. Let's go to CMEs and let's wrap this bitch up. Let me actually grab some water here first. One moment. Oh man. The most important thing happening. Raspy lesbian voice coming in once again. The most important thing happening the soonest would be the weekly closure on CMEs coming in later today at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. If this condition is met where the weekly close above the topside Toronto band, which is currently situated at 45,232, I will have a bias for new all-time highs coming into next week, very likely $50,000 and beyond. Now, of course, I do think that this is somewhat of a formality here because Bitcoin on spot price action did close above the topside Toronto band on the 2-day and the 3-day and even the daily, I believe, as well last night on all of those closures. So with that in mind, I'd want to see that further confirmed on CME. That sets the bias in, not necessarily for the weekend, but next week, as we want to see CMEs actually trading. Now, of course, as long as this condition is met, I am essentially just bullish on this price action. But in the short-term timeframes, higher-term timeframe bullishness does not necessarily just blindly mean short-term timeframe bullishness as well, as we do see a range very obviously coming in line here with yesterday's low at about 44,100-ish region, or 44,300 as is actually the correct level right here. Is going to change the bias for the short and medium term timeframes, meaning that if Bitcoin does start to come back down below here and especially close to preferably 4-hour deltas below this region, I would start to target moves lower. In this case, I would target a move another $3,000 lower at the very least, with bounces implied around $41,000 to $40,000. So that's actually potentially even a $4,000 move right there. And then if that level does break, that's when medium term things start to turn back down around as well. And I'll be looking for moves into the $46,000 to $47,000, not 46 to 47, $36,000 to $37,000 region. Sorry, these numbers are so big that it's too much for my dyslexic brain here. God damn it. Anyways, so looking at this right now, You know, I'm generally bullish on all time frames as long as, again, this level right here does hold. The question is, does Bitcoin get that next move to the upside sooner rather than later or not? And I would say that this is a bit of a ticking time bomb here, because remember, if we do recall back to the funny rate per exchange, we are certainly above the threshold right now, and this has been about 1 day of consistent behavior. Of course, coming into the weekend, if that goes into 2 days, when we look at it tomorrow and it's still kind of the same, that is going to be actionable, at least in my opinion. And that probably does come alongside another move to the upside, but that would very much imply that the next major level that does get hit, very important here, the next major level that does get hit very likely does turn into a short-term, medium-term reversal. And in this case, when we're dealing with these big numbers, I mean, that can be, you know, as big of a move as $5,000, maybe even $10,000 in this case. So where would the next level be to the upside? Well, of course, it'd be the same levels that we've been postulating for a while now. The measured move target from this pattern, also the 2-spot extension, good confluence right there at about 51,500-ish region. On top of that, well, I probably do look for a bit of a pullback there, maybe back down to, yeah, maybe back down to 45 or 46,000 bucks. However, realistically, I mean, I just rarely see things actually stop here. You know, I would still be looking long term towards a 6.8 or 3 spot right here. Make no mistake, the interest rate, or sorry, the interest rate for exchanges is not going to be like a macro type thing until we see like super extremes. And when I say super extremes, I mean like above 0.3 for the global reads on that. And right now we're just above 0.1% on a global read, and it's only been for about 24 hours. So I'd want to see that for like 2, maybe 3 days, and those typically actually do produce some pretty generational reversals. Like we're talking about $20,000 in 2017. You know, kind of well, obviously you want to match up with the price action as well, but in those cases you can get those, you know, those absolutely catastrophic moves, but on your side, of course. Anyways, in this case right here, we do see that lower term time frame still playing out some hidden bullish divergences. 4 hours right here. I think the 6 hour might have had a little bit as well. No, it did not. No, it did not actually. Okay, I take that back. So it's just the 4, 3, and 2 and 1 hour. Although these timeframes are now on the other side getting potential regular bearish divergence, which would imply that Bitcoin probably does play out a short-term move to the downside. But again, anything that does not break 44,300 is not anything out of the ordinary for myself. Bitcoin come back down to 45,500, for example, and it could just be interpreted as a higher low. But for right now, momentum oscillators are pointed north on just about all these timeframes. So that's all that I'd be looking at for right now. If I'm looking for a further continuation to the upside, I want to see a closure on it. Will on the hourly on new highs. Preferably, I like using a 2 hour just because like it doesn't feel as fucking small as an hourly. But 4 hours typically my going rate. And I want to see closure on new all-time highs here as well. 48,500-ish region. Same thing on the 4 hour, except that number is going to be a little bit lower at about 48,125. But if any one of those conditions are met, I'd be looking for the next move into the $51,500 region and very likely beyond over time. And then, of course, look for the weekly closures on CME over here to set the bias in for next week's direction, meaning that if Bitcoin were to play out a pullback over the weekend, that very likely does turn into an opportunity as well. So that's what I want to leave you with right now. And I would like to wish you the best once again. Take care. I salute you, and until next time.